What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another little how-to video. So today we're gonna look at how to trade and identify structure. You can kind of trade with the trend of that session, or at least be able to figure out how to identify so you know which side is going to be kind of having that momentum to give you a better trade. So like we see up there. So first of all, we're gonna start with the basics: uptrend and a downtrend. So uptrend looks like this, right? We make these higher highs, got higher highs up there, and we got our higher lows right here. Ooh, we don't do that. So what's important with this is we see the highs get created, right? So ideally, when we look at this, just in terms of this, and we're going to break this down 3 different ways. So we're going to break it down like this. We're going to look at what is the uptrend, what is the downtrend, the support and the resistance within those structures, and then we're going to look at some examples, and then we're going to jump onto AJ, and we're going to try and identify it in the current price action. Obviously, market's closed right now. It's Saturday for me, so market is closed, but we're going to look at that historic data, or just the stuff from last week, and just see how we can identify what's going on here. So when we look at this, we have resistance here, right? We have resistance here, and we're going to do resistance in red, and we're going to do our support in orange. Give us a little color variety, and we got supports right there. So what's important to notice when we're in this uptrend, right? This resistance, you see how it gets broken from the support, and then price goes up. So once that high is established, and then we create a support or a higher low, price pushes through resistance, and then it keeps going up. So the only way this would be different and kind of look more like this, gotta keep the colors in check, you know what I mean? There we go. So we created a high, just like over here. And then if we get stuck there, then we'll do maybe something like that. But then that's where we get stuck. So we could say if we're going to stay in this uptrend, price should get through here. And if it doesn't, there's a chance that we could be starting to turn around. And then that's where you would just look to kind of minimize or manage your profits. Let's erase this. Let's look at the downtrend. So with the uptrend, what was important was the supports held and the resistances were broken. So now we'll look at the downtrend. A little wonky, but it'll do. So same thing here again. I'm gonna put our resistance in red. Not perfect, but we'll live. And then we're gonna put our supports in orange, just for visual purposes. And then we're going to put on, we know where our higher lows are, or our lower highs. So we got lower high right there. Right, got a lower high. Got a lower low down there. We got a lower high up here again. And then we got a lower low down here. Everything working? Okay, I had a video where I did the whole thing and I didn't look and make sure the mic was on, or I pressed record, so I like to just check and make sure it's on. But so now when we look at this one, when we're in the downtrend, we create support, support gets broken, and the resistances never break above previous. Yeah, that's why it's a lower high, because it's a high, but it's lower than the previous, so lower high. But resistance is respected, support continues to get broken, and then this should stay and follow suit until we either range or we start to try and push into an uptrend. So you'll notice this, when price kept coming down, it never returned and broke the previous lower high or resistance, which is the same thing for the uptrend. Once we continued and made that high, if we were staying bullish and going higher high, higher low, it should not be returning to and breaking that previous higher low. It should be maybe at the same level if it kind of comes down that low, but it should not break that support and it should not break resistance. So we can say, if we look at the uptrend, as long as we don't break a support, we should be continuing to move upwards. And if we continue to not break a resistance, we should be continuing to move downwards. So let's get to these examples. Let me put that up. We got some examples I drew up. And we're just going to go full screen with it. Wait, let's not do that. So when you're trading the structure with the trend, so let's get our little arrows. Go green. So we're going to focus on this information right here. So we kind of come down right here. Still not a ton of information because over here we're really jammed up to the left. So we're looking at a downtrend. Kind of what we're looking for, right? So now we have this 1, 2, 3. We have our first 3 arrows, and we know we want to sell at these positions. So then we see this. Now we have resistance again. Price return to the low it created. Perfect. That's it. But then now if we look over here to this left part, you see this is where our lower high was created, right? So now price is doing this, getting above there. So you wait for a support, and then you buy support right there. So this one happened to line up perfectly right on top right there, which worked out nicely. But ideally, as long as anywhere it made support would have made sense to continue up. And then if you look here, price never made a higher high, and then we made a lower low because we broke supports and we started to come down. Let's go to our next. I don't know why I can't do. Oh, I can do it. Okay, perfect. So here we get a change in structure. So we're pushing up. Have our little fancy arrow again. We're pushing up. We come back. We make a support, because if you look, we had a resistance here and we broke it. So now we could say we're looking for buys. Once we made support, we would have taken a buy to the high, and then price had clean traffic, so it would have continued up a little higher. And now you see we have our support here, because this is our higher low right here. And now that was broken. So we should be looking for resistance. Then we get resistance, and ideally we should expect another leg down. But if you notice, we don't do that. So then we don't return to the low. So then here it's just kind of, if you got in sells here, I think that was a solid trade. But now you could say you'd be looking to manage your trade at this point, because then once we push up and we break resistance, we're now moving back into that uptrend sort of structure. So all we did was we looked at our supports and our resistances, our most recent ones. This is the 15-minute on GJ, to figure out which direction we should be looking to take that trade. So let's go to the next one. So this one, it looks a little weird. Excuse me. So earlier in the video, I said that sometimes when we get this uptrend, don't always go like this. Sometimes it'll go like that. But see, we never broke that support there. But it returned to the same level, it just never broke it. So here, for this example, got my little straight line. This is our support we had. So if that support got broken, we could say now we're going to start moving down. But it didn't. And if we want to get super technical, we could say it made a little bit of a higher low at the closes of the bodies. And then price took support to the high. Maybe a higher high was created, which it was created. So that would have worked out. Only issue with this one is going to be kind of your stop loss and your risk to reward. Is it worth it? Is it not? That's kind of what you need to figure out with creating the structure, because sometimes structure is going to present itself, but if it's like a 30 pip risk and you can only target 20 or 30 pips, even though it should work, it's just maybe not the best trade to take. And we got this example and one more. So we got structure respected, but it doesn't move super nice. So this was actually our GJ on Friday. So we have our supports right here that were created. We have a support there and a support there. And we broke it. So now we can say we're looking for sells. Price came up, we created resistance, but this candle fell to the low. So again, this would be a pretty big stop. And then you would expect a lower low to get created. Kind of like that. We got that down, up, our downward movement. We would expect another move down, which we did get, but we got a little messy before we went down. So this would have been, and again, you could have managed it, minimized it, lowered your risk, maybe went break even, got hit out, or just continued and trusted the trend to make that lower low, which it did, and then price ended up coming back, turning around. Then looking at it going the other way now, we have resistances being created on the way down. Now we're breaking resistance. Support created, price goes up. Support created, price goes up. Super, super simple. Okay, I think we got one more example, and then we're going to pull up AJ, and we're going to work through it with the candles. Because like sometimes you see like here, the candles don't always form like perfectly like this. So you got to understand that just because we're closing bullish here at support, that doesn't mean it's a buy yet. So that one candle closing bullish, and the second one closing bullish, and then this one kind of rejecting to the downside, and then closing weak bullish again. There's no buys until we get above the resistance. And then we can wait for a support to look for a buy. So one more. This one again, just another example. Change in structure. So price was coming down. Resistance. We went up there. Formed resistance again at previous resistance. So if this would have came down, that would have been good to still respect structure and come down. But price didn't, and it pushed up, made a high, higher low, price pushed up. Simple as that. That's how you can tell. All you have to look at, like with those examples we did in the beginning, look at your most recent support and resistance. Which one's getting respected? Which one is not getting respected? Okay? So let's go to our live chart. Or not live because the market's closed. But so we're just gonna go to, we can go to Asian session right here. So we'll look at Asian, and then we'll look at the New York session. So if you can't visualize this yet, I would highly suggest start drawing arrows on your chart till you can start to visualize. And then we kind of start pushing down. So it looks like we had low created, lower high resistance, and then we just got stuck at this support the whole time. But if you look, our overall resistance held the whole time. So the Asian session, sometimes at 15 minutes, see how this looks a little messy? Now I haven't done this and rehearsed this, so I don't know what the 30-minute actually looks like. But I'm assuming the 30-minute is going to look better, yes. So, have our first resistance as we come into Asian session. So up there at the top, I believe this was our Tokyo open. So that was the surge of volume that came in. and we went bearish again, kind of just stuck here, still ranging a little bit. Then we pushed back up to the resistance, and we closed bearish. And resistance is still holding, and we are in this sort of downward movement, so we should continue to push out to the bottom. And then price did end up pushing out to the bottom. See if there was a, you could have maybe entered here on this one, but this was just really, really messy. You can see like a resistance here again, and then price pushed up. So this would have ideally been a sell, but I bet the smaller time frames we could have found. We can probably find where that would have been turning to a buy. Yeah, so right here we had resistance and we broke it. You'd be waiting for support, price pushed up, or support here, price pushed up. Either support there won. Alright, so let's look at, this was Friday, so let's go to Wednesday. So almost all the way up, right? This is end of Asian. Same thing, Asian here is actually a little smoother. Like we created a low. And then we had resistance created. We got stuck for a minute, but we created another lower. So if you look, we're lower high every time. Resistance is still being, resistance was respected the whole time. So if you're looking down on this, resistance was respected. So ideally resistance would be respected to send price down, and it did. So if we were to just kind of cancel out the noise here, jump onto our 30-minute, go back in time, bearish 30-minute, price comes down. But yeah, you could say, oh, this is a fake out, we're rejecting support, but you also need to be looking at the direction. So we had support here, it was broken. We had support here, it was broken. So now we have support here, so probably going to get broken. And then the other thing we can look at is resistance held, held, and held. So ideally, if you sell a resistance, you should be on the right side to get a winning trade. The only thing that you should be looking at is selling down here. Bad idea. When you sell, like when we're looking at structure wise, even regardless of structure, we're always selling high. So same thing here, resistance, you want to sell high at the resistance. So let price pull up and then look for a resistance to sell. Don't just let price push down and give a bearish candle and sell. That's not going to work out too well for you. So let me check my little notepad, make sure I covered everything that I wanted to kind of go over. And hopefully this made some sense on how you can identify and figure out which direction it's going. We can even look here. This is end of day, really low volume, but still, again, one last example. Look at our supports. Broken. So ideally this support probably going to get broken, and then it gets broken. This support, I bet when the market opens up, probably got broken as long as we confirmed resistance and we stayed below the previous. So looking here too, resistance here, we stayed below the previous, and this one tried to change directions, but then we turned it back around, came down. So hopefully this video helps you guys understand and visualize structure and how to make sure you're on the right side of the trade in terms of where price is going. This will work on every time frame. I like to use the 15-minute a lot, but 30-minute also works really, really well too. Only issue is going to be, not even an issue, but the difference is going to be higher the time frame, longer your trade is going to take. If you're taking a trade on 5-minute, probably going to be out of your trade within 5 to 15 minutes. Taking a trade on the 15-minute, probably out of your trade within 15 to 45 minutes, depending on the volume. 4 hour, I'd be 4, 8, 12 hours, depending on volume again. So that's the only difference of the time frames. Otherwise, structure should work on all time frames. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you did, like, comment, subscribe. We'll be trying to get 2 to 3 of these out every single week for you guys to just hopefully just help everyone kind of figure this out and be able to turn it into something. I will see you guys next time.